Welcome back to Hardball. 9 months before the Iowa caucuses, the latest national poll numbers might make. Welcome back to Hardball. 9 months before the Iowa caucuses, the latest national poll numbers might make you feel sorry for the Republicans running for president or even thinking about it. Today's New York Times CBS News poll finds a whopping 56% of Republicans say they're enthusiastic about, see it up there? The name? No one. No one. 56% love that guy. No one. Mitt Romney leads the actual human beings with just 9%. And look at the rest of them. They're all below him in single digits. Hardly anyone is declared, by the way. Debates are getting postponed. And Republicans don't even know who half these people are. What's going on with the Republicans? They had a good opportunity to run against the president. Why aren't they doing it? Cynthia Tucker is a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And Deroy Murdock is a contributor for the National Review. Deroy, thank you for coming on. You're with the National Review. I love the newspaper, the magazine.
Thank you very much.
I've read it for years. But let me ask you this. Just without any precondition, what is going on in the conservative of the two political parties, the Republican Party right now?
I think this is the ultimate limited government. Nobody for president. I think it's extraordinary that you've got 56% saying that they are not enthused about anyone. That's 6 times the number of people who are behind the so-called frontrunner, Mitt Romney. You pointed to one of the reasons for this, I think, which is that there really is no race so far. You have, I think Romney had a big announcement a couple weeks ago that he was putting together an exploratory committee. So you have a lot of people who are exploring running, thinking about running, going through some of the motions of filling out the paperwork, but nobody seems to be out there really hammering the Obama administration, taking on the president directly and really jumping into the ring.
Trump is.
Trump is, but even he is sort of thinking about it. He hasn't declared. Obama, for better or for worse, has announced that he is running. He has announced his re-election campaign. These other people are sort of thinking about it. And it used to be in the old days, I remember when Ronald Reagan announced, it wasn't until November of '79, about a year before the election. And now people expect you to start running 2 and even 3 years before the election. But even now, you don't have anyone who really has jumped in for square.
Well, I don't know if I buy that because I think people all know who Romney is. Plenty's been tooling around in this neighborhood for a long time. He wants to run. Everybody knows for better or worse, usually worse, Newt Gingrich. We know who these people are. Plenty's hard selling. Palin's everywhere. And yet everybody knows who Palin is, but I don't see any numbers for it, except TV shows that people like the ones. So look at this number here. They like the people, maybe making your point, Deroy, that Huckabee, Palin, and Gingrich, who've had these big jobs on Fox, have the highest favorabilities just because they're working at it.
Absolutely. They're the people with name recognition. They're the people who a core constituency of conservative voters listens to those people all the time. They know who they are. Deroy is right when he says one of the reasons these folks have engendered so little enthusiasm is because they aren't really running. People aren't paying attention yet. But the simple fact of the matter is, even among the GOP establishment, these folks haven't engendered a lot of enthusiasm either. People who know who they are still aren't enthusiastic.
Deroy, not to be too sarcastic, a little bit sarcastic, buddy, but when is showtime for Mitt Romney? When does he light up like a lightning bug? When does he go from caterpillar to butterfly? Is there a secret, exciting Mitt Romney that he's been holding back until he's an official nominee? Tell me about that guy. I want to meet him. Who is this guy?
I think the trajectory is more from larva to moth. I think that, look, I think there are a lot of people who are not satisfied with Mitt Romney. We've seen this guy before. He certainly did. He, I guess, came in more or less second or third place last time around. But the real problem with Mitt Romney, he has 2 big problems. One is that on almost any issue, he's on 2 or 3 or 4 sides. This man has more flip-flops than a cook at IHOP. The other problem is that Romney Care in Massachusetts has been described by the Wall Street Journal as the dress rehearsal for Obamacare. And I think one of the biggest campaign issues next year is going to be Obamacare. And Romney can't run away from it. I think Obama will say, gee, Mitt, thanks so much for giving us the model for Obamacare. And if he says that in a debate, Romney's just going to shrink onto the floor.
You know, I think a lot of politics is looking for the guy's sins and knowing he has some imperfections. I mean, most politicians have a background, a backstory that sort of says, I've never been this perfect, and I never will be. And I look at Romney, the hair doesn't move. The suits are right out of a catalog. I mean, J.C. Penney, everything is perfect.
Look at that guy.
Our Brooks Brothers, I mean, everything is, he's never, not that you should, never had a hangover. never did anything really wrong in its
Romney's
life.
Problem
and it's manifest that perfection.
He is a very smart guy. He's a very accomplished guy, but he comes across to voters as inauthentic. And what
Max Headroom.
What Deroy has been talking about just accentuates that with voters. You know, the problem for Republicans is that they're all sitting there hoping for a new Ronald Reagan. There is no Ronald Reagan. There are some serious candidates in the field, like Tim Pawlenty, but he lacks charisma. The most charismatic, the person with the most character who may be running, is Donald Trump. And it's hard to take him seriously.
Yeah, but in all fairness to Reagan, he got beat up a lot in his early career for being too far right. He had a lot of career challenges going up. The movie career faded. The TV career finally faded. He had a fight. He had a bad marriage, terrible first marriage, a bad person. I don't think it worked out too well for him. Let's put it that way without judging anybody. And it isn't that easy. It wasn't so easy with Ronald Reagan, whereas these other guys look like they just coasted to where they are. Well, let's take a look at this new Pew poll. It finds Trump trumping the rest of the field right there. People were asked, who's the Republican candidate you've heard the most about? Trump's at 26%. Everyone else is in singles. Deroy, are you going to put him on the cover?
Well, he's the kind of guy who gets cameras out no matter what he does. He's very telegenic. He has his own well-rated national TV program, and he's very good at being able to stir controversy.
I think, Deroy, you just got an interview with him right there. I think telegenic was a very, very good move. I'd say that about his wife, but I'd have to hold back a little on him. Anyway, more Trump. Back to the Times News poll. Here he is. Is he a serious candidate? A great question. Is he serious? Now, this is all attitude here by voters, obviously. 38% of Tea Partiers say he is. 37% of Republicans say yes, he's for real. That's about 4 out of 10. 27% of independents say it's for real, 23% overall, which is not a lot. Look at this, 8%. I'd say that's attitude. I don't think Democrats have any more idea whether he's running than Republicans or independents. They just don't want him. They don't want him to run. They may be a little afraid of him. They may look down on him. What's the story? Why don't Democrats think he's going to run?
Well, actually, I think Democrats would be delighted if Donald Trump ran, because it's hard to take him seriously, and he sucks up the oxygen from more serious candidates.
Obama would like to stand on a stage 7 or 8 feet from him on 3 or 4 national debates for 90 minutes each. Would he really like to risk trash talk? Because this guy has no super ego. He's just got an ego. He says what he thinks. He doesn't sit and worry about it. Maybe that's why he's got $7 billion. He doesn't say, well, maybe somebody won't like me. He doesn't care.
Well, he's got a lot
that's
of
the point. He says things that are ridiculous, over the top, completely irrational.
Well, why is he a billionaire?
He says, not because
why is
anything
he said.
He's got ego.
We look at success in this country as a measure of intelligence. Why is he so rich?
He's got ego and a whole lot of id. Don't forget that.
I know id was where I started with
some of the serious free marketeers have raised questions about Trump. For example, that he used eminent domain to get somebody on one of his properties basically out of her house so that he could expand, I believe, a parking lot for limousines. So among the serious free market crowd, the Club for Growth has been raising objections to Trump, and I think that's something that
Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand, I guess, might not be for Donald Trump. I'm not an objectivist. No,
okay,
I'm a libertarian free marketeer and a Reaganite.
Okay, great. Okay, great. I think that's a nice thing to be for you. Anyway, thank you, Cynthia Tucker. See how dismissive I am. I'm just kidding. Thank you for coming on. Please come back. Great magazine, National Review.
Thank you very much.
National Review. Thank you. See, you're a Pulitzer Prize winner. I have to ladle it on you. It's hard.